Ciao, Ni Hao, Yasu, Bonjour, Guten Tag. My name is Lydia, and I'm your host of the Global Travel Junkie podcast, where we'll discover new luxury destinations and experiences together. So let's get started and meet today's guest. Hello, everyone. It's Lydia with the Global Travel Junkie podcast and YouTube channel. And today, look at my lovely background. I can't wait to introduce you to our next guest. I'm here with Tierza Eichner. Hi, Tierza.
Hi, Lydia.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to get into this conversation, and we've been talking a little bit before we hit record. So we have a lot of fun things to talk to you all about today. So Tierza, would you just take a moment and introduce yourself? Maybe give a little background about what we're going to talk about regarding your Pura Vida Adventures and like what led you to do the work that you're doing today and how long you've been doing it.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Tierza, and Pura Vida Adventures is a surf and yoga retreat in Costa Rica. And just a little background story that I was telling Lydia earlier is in 2001, I was working in San Francisco in internet marketing, and I got laid off because it was kind of I like to call it the dot bomb at that point. And I just started surfing that year in June, and I got laid off in like September, and I was like, nobody was getting a job. So I was like, I'm actually a traveler. I've traveled and lived in other countries prior to this, and I was 32 years old. That's what I was telling Lydia. I learned how to surf when I was 32. And I was like, where can I go that has fun waves, that is easy and cheap, And everybody's like, oh, go to Costa Rica. It's a perfect place to go. So I went to Costa Rica, went to this little town called Malpais, Santa Teresa, and absolutely fell in love with it. And actually, I stayed there for 2 months. And when I left, I kind of cried. Like I was crying, and I'm like, how can I go back there? And when I was there, I met somebody that brought somebody down for a surf camp, and that's what planted the seed. So I was lucky enough to travel through Central America for 8 months and kind of like have the seed grow and talk to fellow travelers about like starting a surf camp in this area. And then really what is like everybody I was telling Lydia says like, oh, I'm going to do an Airbnb or I'm going to do, some restaurant is like, what is the impetus? How do you start something like this? Like, what is your fire that gives you? And I went back to San Francisco after being really changed for 8 months. And a friend of mine called me up and asked me to do a job in an internet marketing company and said, for about 2 weeks. And I was only 5 days off of being on this whirlwind, literally like transformative, trip, and went into this office after 5 days of, having this amazing time. And I was like, oh my God, this is not my life anymore. I'm not doing this, and I was really fortunate because I was, 32. I didn't have a family, I didn't have any kind of stuff. And so at the end of the day, I went to my friend and said, I'm so sorry. I know this is your life and your job, but if I stay here, this will crush my soul. And I started the business that next day. And then in 2004, we launched our first, what we called it back then was surf camp, because yoga retreats weren't really a name. It was called camp. So that's how we started.
That is such a wonderful story. And I have to give you extra kudos because going off on your own and being an entrepreneur is not easy. And I know there's probably a lot of people listening to this podcast that are feeling the same desire and urges to really create their lives. And you're an example of that. And that's what I'm working on too, is creating my autonomous, independent life that brings me joy. And you did that. And now you're bringing joy to everyone else through these retreats. So let's talk about a Pura Vida adventure. And I know that the primary thing that y'all focus on, you said, was surfing and yoga. So let's talk about that. And then we'll talk about what other things it might offer.
Well, I want to just start to say that my motto is feel the fear and do it anyway. So it kind of goes with even doing it with surfing. Like, I think you're a woman out there that is interested in learning how to surf, but you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, I get emails like this all the time. I'm 50 years old and can I learn to surf? Oh, absolutely. Because by the way, I'm 54 right now. So, and I'm surfing like a maniac, So I think that's kind of the whole thing with the retreat. It's it's a surf and yoga retreat. We mainly focus on the surfing because surfing's definitely much more of an active kind of, they call it, an extreme sport. So, we're all about the surfing, making that safe, making that a comfortable place for women to come. We do take men as well, but it's primarily an all women surf camp, and a safe place for them to learn how to surf and just like really get in touch with like that empowerment piece of surfing. And so it is a 6-night, 7-day retreat. It's pretty much all inclusive. You do have to get airfare there, like drinks and stuff, but it's meals. We do a massage. You get a massage for the week, all your equipment, so everything's included. And then, all these amazing women, I'd say our average age, which is interesting because I was going to talk about this too, is our retreat. I'd say what we differentiate in is we probably have older people. When I say that, I don't want to consider myself older, but, I'd say our average age is in their 40s. I think a lot of people think this is a younger type of sport. It's not. I mean, our retreat is really a container for, I feel like, these women that really want to, do something adventurous and be with other groups of women that are very similar to them, and so solo travelers come, friends come. And so I'd say everyone from 30 to 60 comes to this retreat. I mean, we do get 20-year-olds. We have gotten 70-year-olds, but I'd say our average age is in their 40s,
Okay. So let's talk about that. So it's primarily women, but does that mean that it's like no men are invited, right? I mean, it's a woman's retreat.
If that's at all. So we do have co-ed retreats, we call them. And we probably, if we have 20 retreats per year, I'd say maybe 8 are co-ed and the rest are all women. But we started primarily as an all women retreat. And then we kind of went over because people are like, I want to bring my husband.
Yeah.
And then we get a bunch of solo men travelers as well, So that's, that's the retreat, very fun.
Let's talk about how someone who's never considered going on a surfing retreat might want to be inspired to want to consider it, because, I know that it would be a challenge for someone like me. Even if I wasn't like what would be considered a successful on the board, just the fact that I would attempt it and do the hard work to go through the motions. It's like everything in life is a graduation, maybe an intro and then coming back another time and being more successful another time. Let's just talk about like that journey that somebody who it would be new would experience. Let's walk them through it.
Well, I feel like, first you have to have the desire to want to do that. And, I think a lot of people have trepidation and think, a little fear around it. But I think fear in any type of sport like this is good. It's healthy. It's not like that will hinder you. You're dealing with Mother Nature, you're dealing with the ocean, you're dealing with moving parts, So I think the nice thing is we really, now that I've been in business for 20 years now, we've really honed in this program. And with our clients being women of, let's say, 40s or whatever, we know that this is going to be a little bit of a stretch. They're not like 20-year-olds or, teenagers like, yeah, okay, whatever, like a little bit more hesitant. So the nice thing is, we put you in a small group. It's no more than 3 women in your group to the surf instructors. Our surf instructors are really professional. Like I said, being in business 20 years, we can like hone in on our programs and make them very good. And, I think the other thing that people talk about is like, do I have to be in shape? Do I have to have this type of body type? Honestly, not really. And that sounds terrible, but it's the truth, like we have success, if you have a will, there's a way. And there really is. And it's not, as long as you can lay down and stand up, you can surf. It sounds basic, but, I think that once you get there and you have this person and our, we've been working with people for years. As your surf instructor has this amazing attitude and is like, gives you the foundation too. We don't just throw you out there. I know a lot of times people take lessons and it's like, people are like, okay, get on your board, let's go. And we don't do that. We've set you up for success. We go on the ground, we call it ground school. We go on the beach, we talk about things, we get you to pop up, we talk about proper safety and all that. So when you go out in the water, you get success. The first day you might not stand up, but your surf instructor is there and they're watching you. They're like, okay, this is how we're going to be successful tomorrow. So each day you're working on different things and it depends on the person. Some people, it's shocking. Like some people get it so fast in the beginning and they fast track really fast to like by the end of the week, they're surfing outside waves. They're paddling into, waves and stuff like that. And somebody else might not be. And the nice thing I think with having these type of women come together is we're all there encouraging people. I remember this one surf retreat. It's one dear to my heart. There was somebody that really wanted to get up and she was struggling, and struggling could be whatever, it could be something that there's a blockage or whatever it is. And all the people were ready for her to get up, and all the clients and the instructors, because we knew this day, got on the beach and it was like celebration time. And she felt so amazing. So the nice thing is you get encouragement, you get empowerment. And I know women and people in general like to compare each other. Like, my friend got up, why can't I? And we truly talk to them about this the whole time. This is your journey. Surfing's like life. That's the coolest part about surfing, is that it's really about, figuring out and conquering your fears and going past your perfection. Because being out in the water, when Mother Nature's doing this to you, you can't have it be like, I can control this environment. You can't control it. It's not like running down a street. You can kind of control that environment. This is not something you control. And I think that's what makes it so beautiful. Yeah. And that's why I think, like I was talking to you earlier, the transformations happen is because, this woman that's up, that like me, I've got a family and I own a business and I'm like, kind of like got everything together, gets humbled. And I think it's beautiful to get humbled,
Yeah. So you mentioned, I know you were talking about the actual training was 3, but how many people are in an actual retreat as a whole group?
I'd say we're average around 10 people. We can take more, we can take less, but I'd say around average is 10. It's a nice number because you do get to know, everybody gets to know each other. So it's, I think being out in the ocean and doing that, but that's only a few hours out of the day because after 2 hours, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm beat. Most people are pretty tired after that. And, a lot of it's just sitting around at, breakfast, lunch,
visiting.
Connection, the connecting part is huge. And the nice thing is where we're located, the setting's beautiful. It's on the beach, the restaurant's on the beach. You're sitting on waves. There'd be times I'm sitting there. I remember there's many times I'm there at breakfast and I almost stay there all the way till lunch, like sitting on the beach because people come up and I'm chatting and, so it's like those connection points with the surfing and like kind of going down and like the smiles and everybody having like, nobody's has makeup on and everybody has salty hair and your hair's messed up and you feel great, and you're sun-kissed and it's, it's fun.
I love that. I love that number 10. It's such a small, intimate. When you said that, I thought of the word intimate number of people. So literally take us through like a day. I want to know, what time do we have to wake up? I want to know, when is breakfast? When are we expected to be in the training? If you do that for a few hours, when do you have lunch? I want to know the whole like day schedule.
Okay. So there's a huge gong that goes, no, I'm just kidding.
Alexa wakes you up.
Yeah. So there is no typical day. We're just going to pretend there is. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because surfing is very much like there's better times to surf than not. And that's one thing about surfing that's different than any other sport. I feel like it's like, you can't really say, oh, we can go at 8 a.m. every day. It might not be good. So one thing is we really try, because that's what you're here for, is to try to find the best times. So I'm just going to say let's pretend this is a typical day, So we like to have like 7 a.m. is yoga. And then we do about an hour yoga class. So about 8 a.m. is breakfast. And then about 9 a.m. is surf instruction. We allow about 3 hours for the surf instruction. We do sometimes go to other beaches. So that might be a 4-hour jaunt, depending on. Are you surfing for that 3 hours? No. I mean, that would be a lot. If you've surfed before, absolutely. So just getting that out there, we do take all levels of surfers. And so we do put you in a group based on your surfing level. And then from there, depending, that's when all things, things are different, because you might actually be surfing at 7 a.m. and this person might be surfing at 8 a.m., depending on tides and your ability. So that's why there's no typical day. But just so you know, this kind of, mostly I know that like more advanced surfers be like, I don't want to surf at 9. I want to surf at 7, like a.m. But that's all, we work with that.
It's personal,
so yeah, we personalize that. And so let's say it's 3 hours. If you're a beginner, a lot of it's on the ground, like I was saying, and then we go out, we surf, we come back in a lot, rehydrate, go back out, work on some things, and then come back, and then we have lunch. And then in the afternoon, it's kind of, your time, kind of free time.
Rest, yeah.
And a lot of people like lay in a hammock or take a nap, or just, because it's kind of a big morning, and Costa Rica is warm, it's pretty hot there. So, you kind of become a lounge lizard, and then we eat. Yeah. And then we eat at night, probably around 7 o'clock, we're going out and eating, and we don't eat all our meals at the hotel. I mean, you're a traveler, I'm a traveler. We know that like one of the best parts about traveling is trying different cuisine. So breakfast is usually at the hotel. We do a few lunches and a few dinners at the hotel, but in general, we go out and try other food. So we can try different places, because there's amazing food down there. There really is. We're lucky.
Well, and you're so experienced going down there. You know all the great places.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. And so let's talk about, so was that the end? So does anything happen after dinner, or does everybody
most people, it's funny because, you would think like maybe people go back and have a drink, or maybe they do this, but a lot of people are tired, like by 10 o'clock at night.
And they got a 7 a.m. start tomorrow. Yeah, I like my beauty sleep.
Oh, me too.
That's what 54 does to you.
Yes.
Appreciate that. So, about Costa Rica. So getting to Costa Rica, and like, is there a particular airport that you fly into? And then how far is the facility from the airport? Let's talk logistics for people who want to understand their responsibility.
Right. So San Jose, so everybody flies into either San Jose, Costa Rica, or Liberia, depending on whatever's easiest for them. Most people do fly into San Jose. They do. I'd say probably 80% of the guests do, but some of them do fly into Liberia, because Liberia actually has more deals, like flight deals. Then from there, we are on a peninsula. So from San Jose, if you were going to drive there, I'm just going to talk about driving. Most people don't drive. You have to take a 2-hour like car ride to the ferry, get on the ferry. The ferry's another hour, and then another 2 hours. And then you have to hit the ferry and everything perfectly. So most people fly, So there is a little airport called Tambor, which is about 45 minutes from us. So they fly into Tambor, and then we have somebody come pick them up from Tambor and get to us. And then Liberia is only 4 hours away, and it's direct. Like, that's just drive time. But most people still fly usually from Liberia to Tambor, just because it's like...
And that's like a 1-hour flight, right?
It's 30 minutes.
Okay.
A 30-minute flight. So it makes it so much... Mostly if you're only coming for a week, it's like, get there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, I agree.
Yeah.
So I know Costa Rica has a lot of wildlife and forest and jungles, I guess is what they're called, not forest. Do y'all do any extra curricular tours or anything with the group, or do the people have their own options? Like what else is around that when you get there that you might want to consider, even if you're not planning it for them to consider part of their trip?
So the beaches are probably the best thing for me for Costa Rica. Of course, the jungle is too, but I am a beach girl. Is the nice thing is where we're located because we are on the beach. You can walk probably, let's say if you're facing the beach to the south, you can walk probably a good hour and a half until you get to this peninsula area, which has been hard to get around. I mean, that's just beach walking. And it's like, that way's like tide pools and I mean, really beautiful, dramatic, more rocky and stuff like that. If you go to the left, I mean, it's surf beach first and then you hit the tide pools. And we even have what we call a piscina, which is a huge tide pool, which you can swim in, which is crazy. That's at low tide, you can go, and it's stunning. The other way, you could walk forever, and same thing, tide pools. There's another surfing beach, which is kind of fun because we're in front of one of the beaches and then you go down and there's another surfing beach that looks very different and you can watch surfers and then you just can keep on going. I mean, so a lot of people get up in the morning if they don't have to, because some people don't go to the yoga. So, sometimes they do huge beach walks,
Yeah, they want to walk. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't blame them, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And the tide pools are amazing, and then, the other thing people do is the canopy tour, which is like the zip line. I mean, zip lining in Costa Rica is huge, it's really big there. And there's zip lining. Where this photo is of me in the background is about what you would get from one of the zip line tours. This is actually looking towards that, like you'd be up on the line. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so zip lining, people take ATVs out and do just kind of roam around. We are near 45 minutes away. It's called Montezuma. It's another town which has a waterfall hike that you can do. Cabo Blanco State Park is down the street from us. That is one of the first national parks in Costa Rica. It was there. So there's a lot of things to do in the area. People horseback ride if you want. I would say most of the people walk the beach and in the retreat and do the canopy tour. That's kind of what they do. We are really, it's a lot, I think during the day. It doesn't, when I said it, whatever, but it's if you're out there it's so hot that I think it drains a lot of people, I mean, just laying in a hammock reading a book is also awesome. You know what I'm saying?
That reminds me to ask you a different question. If you were to give us insider tips, what is the best months in the U.S. to go to Costa Rica?
The winter by far. You know what I'm saying? The winter, because I think, a lot of people want to break from, I mean, it gets kind of mostly where, I'm from in Oregon. It's our winter season's long, so I think and that's where we see more of our business. And Costa Rica is right now, we're not that busy, because it's summer, it's nice in the States and it's opposite. So right now it's more rainy in Costa Rica, really lush and beautiful. People love it this time of year because it's quieter. The other time of year, it's hot, sunny. So you're coming from the mountains where it's snowy or rainy in the city or whatever. And then you go there and you're oh, thank gosh. And you have a look of so the peak season there or the really sunny part of the year is December through April. That's kind of when most people go to Costa Rica. And it's a great time of year to go. I'm not going to, I love it.
You mentioned that, I don't know if you said this while we were recording or before, about that you can get a massage. Now, does the hotel that you're in have a spa in case people want to do more when they're
that's a great idea. Times? Yeah. So this is, so we partnered, it's not my hotel. I partnered with a hotel. I've been working with them for 15 years now. They're called Hotel Tropico Latino, and they have a full restaurant, full spa. I mean, there's only 22 rooms, so I want to make sure that everybody knows it's smaller.
Yeah,
it's an intimate place. So there's a spa on, site that offers anything that you can imagine, facials, pedicures, down to, Thai massages and any kind of massage and stuff like that you want. And they're called Spa Natural. And so they use all natural products. So if you're going to have a facial, it's going to be with fresh
plant-based. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the restaurant also has its own, not on the property. They do have a piece of land somewhere else that they have a huge garden. So they try to do a little farm to table. I'm not going to say that's 100% farm to
Yeah,
table.
it's hard to do that fully, but in the tropical areas where they
Yes.
can grow things,
Yeah.
they're doing it.
So they try to do that. And then the nice thing is because we're on the ocean, I mean, if you love fish, I would say eat fish all day long, you know?
Sushi.
Yeah.
Good sushi. Speaking of fish, what kind of wildlife are you seeing in the ocean? Because, I've snorkeled and know that there's a whole world down there when you get your head under the water. So what kind of things have you seen out there, like turtles or what?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you brought turtle because I was like, okay, let me think. So one of the surf breaks, so in front of the hotel where we surf a lot is more of a beach break. So it has waves coming in. So you don't see as much wildlife there because there's constantly water.
Tide, yeah.
There is a bay that we surf in, sometimes called Mar Azul, and a lot of times a little like turtle puts its head up, comes back down, and yeah, it's really cute. I mean, of course, there's going to be a ton of different types of fish everywhere. Yeah, I mean, lots of crabs, lots of little baby hermit crabs, on the beach at night and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so lots of stuff in the water, but the coolest part, I think, is the monkeys that are at the hotel. So we have a group of monkeys that I'm not going to say guaranteed that they're going to be there the week that somebody comes, but it's guaranteed. They don't live, but there is a few trees. The nice thing about this hotel and the reason why I wanted to partner with them is because they didn't clear cut their place to build the hotel. They actually kept old trees, and we're really lucky because then we have a lot more wildlife coming in.
Yeah.
So please go to some of these trees and, you can hear them. So, like, oh my gosh, they're on the property, So, I think that's so cool to see. And we see a bunch of iguanas. I mean, that's Costa Rica. Like, it's nice to actually see some of, the wildlife because that's why you go there, I feel like.
Yeah. I remember, gosh, years ago, there was like a turtle rescue travel opportunity. And I think it was in Costa Rica.
Yeah, they have a lot of that. Not in our area, but in
other parts of Costa Rica. Yeah. So let's just kind of, when we're wrapping it up, let's kind of tie it all up together for people. So one of the questions that earlier you were talking and you were mentioning, the women and the age group of the women and everything, but also I talked to you in previous conversations, and I believe that there's like corporate women, that really come. And let's talk about like that demographic that you see aside from the women, what is that kind of personality or that type of person who's looking for an adventure and a challenge and an experience? I mean, one of the reasons I'm having you on is because to be able to mix travel with adventure and achievement and challenge and accomplishment and feel good and happiness. I mean, it's all tied in what you're offering, even though it sounds like, you don't have to just want to learn how to surf or do yoga. There's so much more that the guests are getting. So let's kind of talk about who that demographic kind of is and what you've seen, the type of people, plus what they end up walking away with.
Yeah. So I would say, like I said, it's 30 to 60-year-olds, probably primarily. We do get 20 and 70-year-olds, but that's kind of the primary age group. Oddly enough, I think we get more 70-year-olds than we do.
I might go in that group, so I don't feel so bad.
So, and I think it's because this is, the business has been around for 20 years. I think that's maybe where I'm sitting too with my, I feel like we were skewing a little younger when I was younger, and now we're going a little bit older. But I think, and it's probably because it is my business and I want to surround people with like who I want to surround myself with is like, what I feel like is like you said, people work in corporate America. There are some moms out there. I mean, being a mom can be a full-time job. And I know because I have twins, so it's like, so we get these, I think, type A, I would say, personalities, achievers, people that don't want to just sit on a beach and hang out and read a book. They want to, do something, experience something cool, do something that's different. And like I said, we take all types. I mean, during a retreat week, we get, a combination of people that have never surfed before to people that actually have surfed for a while, so we do that. And I think the people that never have surfed, I think it is kind of like bucket list and like, oh my God, I want to do this. Or some of them have moved somewhere that is now on the ocean and like, okay, but I want to learn how to surf. But for some reason they come to us first because I think, and it's smart. I think one thing is if you do want to learn to surf and you're kind of serious about it, you don't have to be when you come to this camp. But if you might just be like, I'm doing it, and that's probably it. That's fine too. But if you are, it's really great to come for a week, as anybody knows, to really hone in on that skill and really get the most, because we do put together a program that is a week long and teaches them how to surf. By the time they leave us, most of them can go out and do it on their own without having somebody help them out. And so, so it's like the demographic is, I would say, women who just are probably active women that are interested in doing some kind of venture. And I do know that some women will actually ask their friends, and some of the other women are, like who they brought were like, well, I didn't really want to learn how to surf, but, my friend was coming and I thought, oh, why not? Let's go, do that. So sometimes people do come along and then they love it, because they have no idea, because they live, maybe in the middle of the country and don't have access to the beach and stuff like that. But then they're like, oh gosh, I love it. So I feel like the testament to the business has been that our repeat customers are really a lot, and I think a lot of the people didn't know that this would become their trip per year, which I feel very grateful for that. I think of this, the most people that I've had, like the person that has been the most is actually this couple, honestly, they've been 14 times to the retreat, which I think is
But that says a lot about you and what you're providing.
So that's probably the longest. The second longest is 13. We do have a woman came 13 times. I mean, so we do get a lot of repeat. And I think it's because I was telling you before, and I haven't said it in the podcast yet, was that this is more than what people think and more than what I thought it was going to be. When I started this retreat, I literally was like, oh, people are going to have fun. And I didn't think I was going to be in business for 20 years. That wasn't even thought. I'll do this for a couple of years and we'll have fun. And that first week was the telltale sign. Like I had 13 women come, the first camp in 2004 in January, and they cried when they left. They were like, oh my God, and that's when I realized, I'm like, wow, this is way more than I thought. Like you put surfing and yoga and a bunch of women together, and who knows what's going to happen. And the transformations and the letters I receive of like, I realized some things about my life, or I decided this, that, the other. And I was like, it's not like this is forced. It just organically happens. And so it really is a cool experience that I think, like you said, a testament to the business also being around for 20 years. I mean, if we went back to the history of when I started and who's still in business today, then is like, I've been through it for 20 years. I've seen people come and go, and so I feel like part of this experience is not because of me at all. It is not. I'm not always down there. And I have this amazing staff, and I really have to tell you, and you could read all the reviews. It's really about the people that I have in place down there and what their passion that they have. I'm so lucky, like you don't go there and the surf instructor's like, okay, bye. They're like eating breakfast with you, eating lunch with you. They invite you over to their house. You get the part of this huge community, which I haven't talked about yet. It's the community that happens. Women, like say you went down there, you probably meet, 9 other cool women and maybe start traveling with 2 of them, like it's just what happens. And so I think some part of me, when I really think about it spiritually, like this business was supposed to be, and I think it's supposed to still be. I really do, because we're still strong after me, 20 years. I got, as a business owner, you get tired and whatever, but it's like, it keeps on going. People still want it,
And it's evolving. I mean, we were talking earlier about you started like before the internet was really popular and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, the world's evolving and your adventure is evolving. And as new things come about, new things will be offered. So it's going to always be new and evolving. So
Yeah.
yeah. So in wrapping up, how do people find you? Share with us like all your social medias, and do you have any groups online, and what's your YouTube, and let people know how to find you.
Okay. So we're called Pura Vida Adventures, and it's just puravidaadventures.com. And you can find us on Facebook, and it's Pura Vida Adventures. On Instagram, Adventures was too long, so it's Pura Vida Surf.
I know how that happens.
Right. And on YouTube, we have a huge, I feel very lucky. We have, I think it's like 11,000, almost 12,000 followers on YouTube, because we do how to surf video series on there. And it's Pura Vida Adventures. Pretty much because I started so long ago, the name is out there, I'm going to do a caveat. There is another company called Pura Vida Adventures. They did start after me, and they do some kind of hiking in, I think, North Carolina. So that's not me. I'm the surf one.
Look for the surfboards.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything you want to share with our guests or say that I didn't ask you about that we want to be sure to mention before we wrap it up?
I think the only thing I want to mention is I thank everybody who has come to the retreat. And I think everybody who's worked at the retreat, I feel really, I'm just saying this from the bottom of my heart, so fortunate with the people that have made this become my dream. I mean, it's it wasn't, like I said, just me. Just because I own it doesn't mean that I'm the driving force. I think there's a lot that's driving this. So I really do thank everyone out there, from the beginning to now, of my staff. I mean, they really helped it become what it is today. So that's what I think.
Right. I mean, it takes a village, right? It really does. And it's gratitude is everything. So that's wonderful that you're acknowledging them. I will share for anyone who's listening to this video that has been on her adventure with Zara. I recommend you go, if you haven't already, and write a review and tell everybody how wonderful the experience was for you, because people make decisions based on other people's previous experiences. And so if you did have a great experience with the Pura Vida Adventures, it's so helpful to go either. Where would you like your reviews? Like on Google reviews? Where's your favorite?
And TripAdvisor, both.
Okay. Yeah. Because honestly, that helps every small business out. And really what it also helps out is the people who want to go on the adventure. So we're talking about something, but unless people hear about it from a previous attendee, they're probably not as likely to take the risk. So go out there and share your wonderful experience so that other people can know that it's such a great experience too, and they can have it as well, right?
Yep, exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you know what? Thank you for being a wonderful guest on the Global Travel Junkie podcast. And I wish you, all the best in your future. And I'm going to start stretching and building my leg muscles and my core, stomach muscles and my arm muscles. And then I'm going to book a tour. Come out there and learn how to surf.
Great. That sounds awesome. Thank you, Lydia. Really.
Yes. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you'd like to be a guest on the Global Travel Junkie podcast and YouTube channel, reach out to us at our Contact Us form at globaltraveljunkie.com. We hope to see you out traveling. Adios. Ciao. Au revoir.